The first Thompson experimental submachine gun appeared in 1919, and first production model appeared in 1921. It was manufactured under contract by Colt Firearms Manufacturing Company, as well as later M1928 models. Production of the M1928A1 and M1 submachine guns was carried out by Auto Ordnance and Savage, and some licensed copies were manufactured by BSA in Great Britain. This design was influenced from the experience of World War I, where a trench broom was needed so that a man could jump into a trench, take down the enemy with a powerful enough cartridge and fully automatic fire, but with a gun lighter than a machine gun. The first Thompson gun to see some military use was a Model 1928 used by the US Navy during its expeditions into Nicaragua. The internals of CyberGun Thompson are very solid but not spectacular. It utilizes a version 6 gearbox which contains oval bushings. The shim jobs are notoriously poor but easily corrected, and the gun is easy to access and take apart.
Yeah, anybody who knows me knows I have a real passion for World War II, and one of the first purchases I ever made in my World War II collection was the CyberGun Thompson submachine gun, which I have here. Now, yes, it doesn't look quite like the original version that I bought. Reason being is I took off the plastic faux wood kit and I put on a real wood kit, which was then stained down to make it a little bit more realistic, because most of the Thompsons were wrapped in oil rags, and the wood on them absorbed all the oil and made them real blacky looking. And so if you actually get your hands on a real steel version of the Thompson deactivated jobby, you'll see that all the wood kits on them are really dark. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a work in progress. It's a little bit too shiny for my liking, but by the time I'm finished, it's going to look fairly mint. Also, I've done a little bit of rubbing down just to weather it slightly to make it look a little bit more realistic. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this as a review. I've owned this gun for, this must be heading towards now nearly 3 years, and I haven't changed a single piece in it, bar the external wood kit. The gears are working fine, and it has been used a fair amount, especially in the early days when I bought my 101st outfit. I lived in it, and I used this an awful lot. I have a lot of likes about this gun, I have a lot of dislikes about this gun. But let's start. The internal barrel that it ships with is a brass barrel. Probably not the best quality, but it's a 603 as standard, so you don't really need to take this out and put in a type bore. Has the shim job on the gears apparently is not bad. It's not fantastic, but you know what? I haven't touched the gearbox. I haven't even got anyone to look at the gearbox since I bought this. Probably could do with a little bit of tweaking at this stage, but you know what, it's still shooting, still firing fine. And I was actually in a World War II game there the other day, and I had a very seasoned airsofter standing next to me, and he couldn't believe the range I was getting out of this particular Thompson, because let's face it, in airsoft terms this is probably more like a CQB gun. It's a very short barrel, and you know, it's a little bit CQB-ish. But in open field territory, this actually owns really well. It's a nice piece. The only other thing that I did with, when I changed out the faux wood kit to the real one, we put in a Dean's connector. I say we, I mean Mark put on a Dean's connector, purely because we tend to use lipos, and we use Dean's connectors on all our batteries anyway. Hop-up is really responsive. It's not sort of needed to be accessed, because there it is, it's on the outside already there. Typical sort of G36 style drum. Very responsive on one set, doesn't shift. And you know, I've talked to a lot of guys, and one of the problems that this particular CyberGun has, the piece here can crack if you fall on the gun. And let's face it, we all take a tumble in airsoft, some of us more than others, but sometimes if you fall on it, you know, the weak spot is between this section here and this machined piece here, and a lot of guys find this piece cracks. There are workarounds that you can do if you're in any way used to working with welding and metal. You can strengthen these up from the get-go, or you can fix it as it happens. Now, as I said, I've fallen on this a few times. It's not failed, it's not broken, but one of my airsoft buddies, Anthony, who is another 101st enthusiast, he's had a number of them go on him, and he has done a few mods to stop that happening. He's also changed out the internals and he's put in a tight bore, and he seems to think it makes a massive difference. But you know what, as I said, this seems to be working for me, so I'm not going to tinker around with it too much. One of the issues I do have, and it's not really an issue to the gun, it's the mag. The mag is a pain in the ass because of the way it's configured. It's a really small wheel because it's a very small mag, and therefore you have to really wind it a lot to get any sort of push on the BBs going up, and even then you don't get a huge hit for all the pushing you're doing. But not only that, because it's a small piece, it can actually become quite hard to get to that wheel to rotate it. But you know, if that's all you have a problem with, you ain't doing too bad. All in all, you know, on the German side, I see the MP40 SRC version as my favourite, you know, World War II piece. The Russian side, the PPSH, and obviously on the Yank / Allied side, it has to be the Thompson. It's an iconic piece, and you know what, it looks absolutely mint when you're playing with it. It feels right, it shoulders right, and I have to say, Mark picked out something that he noticed whenever he was out playing with me and I was using the Thompson. I have to rephrase that, when he was out playing with me. When we were airsofting together and I was using the Thompson, he said that, you know, it made a very distinctive clack, and he could always tell where I was by the noise of the piston and everything engaging. You know, maybe it does. There's no sort of blowback on this, so there's no real designer feature to make it a certain noise out of it, but he said it's a very distinctive noise when it's been used in field. So, would I recommend a Thompson by CyberGun? 100%. This gun, for the money, I think I paid something like 180 to 200 euros for it. This hasn't let me down. I think it's awesome to look at, it's awesome to play with, and it'll always remain in my armoury. So a big thumbs up to CyberGun, and if you can get your hands on one, I'd recommend it. Superb piece of kit. It's been Oddie's Airsoft. Thanks for listening to my inane drivel, and we'll see you soon.